Alright folks, in this lesson what we're going to do is look at RNA. We're going to look at its structure and why it's necessary. So the first thing that you need to know is that RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. Okay, so this is the second category of nucleic acids, DNA being the first. And just like with DNA, RNA is still made of good old nucleotides. Okay, and just like before, a nucleotide is a phosphate, a sugar, and a base, which of course you knew because you know that phosphate, sugar, base is the parts of a nucleotide, and you can all recite that. This time, again, our pentose sugar, this is the general name for sugar. The actual name of the sugar found in RNA is ribose. Okay, so again, just like with DNA, you remember DNA was deoxyribonucleic acid because the sugar was deoxyribose. This time ribose is our sugar, so our name of our nucleic acid is ribonucleic acid. Something else you'll notice about RNA is that you're going to have different bases in RNA. You're still going to have the A, the G, and the C. But instead of a T, you're going to have uracil. Okay, so the uracil is in place of T. What that means is every place that you would normally use a T, if you're building RNA, instead you're going to replace that with a U for uracil. So in RNA, A goes with U instead of A going with T. So those are the two differences between the nucleotides of DNA and the nucleotides of RNA. It has to do with the uracil, and it has to do with this ribose sugar. Okay, so I did a really long and kind of involved explanation in a Web 2.0 tool that's posted in Edmodo and Blackboard on why is RNA necessary. But let's get the short explanation here. There's two reasons that you can think of why RNA is necessary. And the first reason has to do with the fact that DNA is like Google. Okay, so DNA is like Google in that Google contains all of the information that you could ever want to know about pretty much everything. DNA contains all of the information for how to build every protein in your body. That's a lot of information. That makes DNA really big. Google also really big, right? So let's say, for example, you need to fix your car and your transmission is shot and you want to fix it yourself. You don't need all of the information that Google has to offer on everything. Instead, what you want is just individual search results on Google. That individual search result that tells you how to fix your transmission, like each of these, is like the RNA. In that RNA is going to contain the information for just the protein that you need at the time. Okay, this is just the information that you need on how to fix a transmission, right? RNA would be just the information you need to build a specific protein. So, for example, if you drink milk and you have milk sugar, in your system, lactose, the DNA would have all the information on how to build every enzyme. But really what happens is that information from DNA gets written in RNA for just the information for lactase. Okay, so the RNA is just going to contain the instructions for one protein at a time. Now, with that said, that means RNA is a much smaller molecule. It's going to be shorter. It's going to contain one gene. DNA is going to contain all the genes. And that leads us to reason 2 why RNA is necessary. Because DNA is everything. It's all the information. DNA is far too big to leave the nucleus. It can't fit through the nuclear pores. It's a big fat molecule. RNA is short, and because, as you're going to see in a minute, it's single-stranded, it's svelte, which means it's skinny enough to get out of the nucleus and to the ribosome. And as we already know, the ribosome is important because the ribosome is where the proteins have to be made. Okay, so RNA is needed to get to where the protein assembly machinery is, which is outside of the nucleus. All right, so let's look at a typical RNA molecule. This is a complete RNA molecule that you're seeing here. Notice you have phosphate, sugar, base, phosphate, sugar, base, and so on, right? So these are all nucleotides. But notice with RNA, it's single-stranded. So you only have one strand here, right? This whole thing is one chain of nucleotides, one strand. Okay, one strand. Plus, because it's only single-stranded, you only have one backbone. Okay, so only one backbone in RNA, one strand, and notice again we've got U in place of T, and then the sugar here, these sugars would all be ribose sugar. All right, so what you should do with this information now that you've seen it. In your homework, you guys went through and did a Venn diagram of comparing and contrasting DNA and RNA, but you did that before you had this information. Now that you've got this information, it would be a really good way to study for you to go back, take the information you got from your notes, and make sure it's all totally filled into your homework sheet with that Venn diagram. In the next lesson, we'll start looking at transcription. And when we do transcription, you'll be able to fill out the second Venn diagram for comparing and contrasting replication and transcription.